Come on. There we go with that one. All right, so as far as I know, we are running on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube. And as far as I know, that's everywhere we're running. But I have no freaking clue, so just bear with me. It does look like we are live. I've got a screen over here that lets me control the video or the production piece of it. And I have a separate computer that is running what you see the game in the background. And then I have my bike, and I've got my 3 cameras. Let me see if I can figure out how to switch cameras. All right, so here is the angle from down here now, which I don't know if that angle is going to work. And like I said yesterday, I'm going to be changing them, I think. And then here is the angle from back. Holy crap, do my legs look purple to you? I promise you I'm not freezing cold. I think it's just the lighting and the angle of the lighting and all that crap. So, but it kind of lets you see a little bit of my setup. So we'll go back to angle number 1, I think. Yeah, there we go. I'll take my glasses off. All right, so we are going. Yeah, this other... This other screen that's running, I'm not really all that... Sometimes it's just nice to be riding, right? So today's an hour and a half workout. I haven't actually even looked at it. Looks like I've got warm up, and then it's actually a pretty easy workout. It's actually a really easy workout, huh? All right, I thought it was going to be a little bit more effort than what it appears that is going to be required. So the good news is I'll be able to talk. Bad news is it's kind of a boring workout today, being a hour and a half workout, and I'm literally going through 25-minute intervals of 130, 135, and 140 watts. So now I got 3 minutes at 140 watts. Hi, Dave. Hey, I just started my workout. Is there something pressing? Is there something important? Okay, I'll give you a call after my workout. All right. Whew. So anyhow, I got 3 minutes at 140 watts, and then I'm going through my warm-up fast pedals. I never adjusted the saddle. I said I was going to do that yesterday. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of every ride on my road bike, at the end of every ride, I get off the bike, I immediately clean, and then adjust anything that's wrong. I'm not in that habit on the trainer. I do get off and I wipe it down, but then I'm so hot and sweaty and anxious to just get on with my day. And generally, the trainer needs less maintenance when, the obvious maintenance. You have to lube a couple parts and keep it clean. But it's not like on your road bike where, you know, you're hearing a little noise, you're feeling a little something different with the drivetrain, you know, a squeak, a rub, whatever on the brakes. So you're constantly making tiny little tweaks. And if you do it at the end of every ride, before you put your bike away, then it's done. It's done because it's front and center of your mind at the end of the ride. And generally, when you run out to the garage and you get your kit on and you're ready to go, you want to go. You don't want to fiddle around with your bike before the ride. And you generally don't remember. So, I'll just have to deal with my saddle position a little bit uncomfortable today. I'm also wearing my new Basecamp kit today. It's not new, I've actually worn it once before. The jersey I don't mind. I don't know. I've got some opinions on the kit. The bibs themselves aren't very stretchy. And just the way that they're cut, they're kind of, I don't know, they're kind of baggy in my hips. I don't know if I got a small butt or what, but they just don't fit quite right. And because they don't have that much elastic or spandex in them compared to others, they just don't do it for me. And the chamois, I've got a little bit of rub right here. Like I said yesterday, my go-to, my preferred bibs are the ASOS bibs, because the way they've designed their chamois, number one, with the separated chamois from the actual lycra itself, so it really hugs your skin, stays on your body, and isn't interfered by the movement or the stretching and the compression of the lycra. And then number two, the fact that up front they've got, what do they call it, their cooling pocket or whatever. Less padding in the chamois, I think almost, well, yeah, only a little bit, and holes in it so that air can flow through, but you're not just exposing everything to the world as some cycling shorts like to do by just basically cutting the chamois out in the front, not having much there, and then, yeah. But, yeah, it's a constant trade-off on everything, right? So, like these ones, you've got the chamois pad that's pretty big up in the front. Certainly covers everything it needs to, but I got all kinds of wear in my groin, and even on like my stomach here, right at the top of the chamois there. So in an hour and a half, you know, you can kind of deal with it. There'll be a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of tenderness, but not too bad. But would not be able to wear these on a long endurance ride because I would literally be bloody by the end. That's the other thing, is that the stitching on the chamois, it's pretty aggressive stitching, and it goes right through to the skin. So you literally have a saw blade at the edge of the chamois that, as it rubs, and again, it's following the contours, it's staying with the lycra itself. Sorry, I got this last fast pedal here. All right, now I've got a minute at 1:30, followed by 25 minutes at 1:30. So, yeah, again, it's completely sewn into the Lycra of these LEL shorts, and therefore every little bit of movement, it's staying with the short, not staying with my body, with my skin, and therefore it's a little bit of movement, but just enough that, like I said, on a 4 or 5 hour ride, I'd be bloody. So that, and then I discovered today, the jersey that I don't mind, I kind of like this fit. The material, I think, is not that bad. It stretches a little bit, not as much as others. And actually, surprisingly, it doesn't quite stretch as much as others, and doesn't offer the compression as others. So you'd think they'd take out some of the stretch, but cut it a little tighter so that you had better compression. But that's not the case. But I noticed before I put it on today, they've got this on one of the, on this pocket. Now, I don't know, on one of the pockets, here we go, on the middle pocket, they actually sewed in an LEL patch. So their logo, their ID on the Basecamp cycling kit. And they sewed it in with non-stretchy thread. So I've worn this once. I've washed it once. And their patch is already coming unsewed. So it doesn't really affect the function of the kit itself. But boy, you would think that the people at LEL would want their branding on it, that with a program, partnering with a program like Basecamp, where, you know, we got to buy the kit. It wasn't cheap. I can't tell you how much it was, but it wasn't cheap. I mean, we paid full retail for it. You'd think they would want to create a bunch of brand ambassadors because we love Basecamp. So why wouldn't we want to, you know, wear our Basecamp kit and talk about how great the kit is? And like I said, there's a lot of things about it that I like. I don't mind the jersey. It's cut a little bit short, I think. But overall, I mean, it's not uncomfortable. The pockets are decent size, which I like. There are other brands where the jersey pockets, they make them so freaking small that they're impractical. All right, so I'm gonna go to this view again. You can see that bright camera in front. Again, I can't see it on my screen, so I have to apologize. What I see is a tiny little thumbnail on a tiny little laptop screen. But, yeah, you can kind of see my couch over here with all my production crap on it. Those are mostly cases for the light stands. Trying to think, right here, you can't really see it, but this is the iPad that I use as my companion app right here. I'd love to have that camera up over my head so that you can look at the companion app as a view. I'm trying to figure that out. Then I've got the 2 other camera tripods that I think you can see on this angle. The one camera with the green light is right down here. And then in front of me, you can kind of see the TV, the screen that I'm using, which the laptop that's running that, well, I don't get to use the full screen size on that because it's a really old laptop. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I thought that by separating it like this, we would gain the ability to, I don't know. I wouldn't have the issues where it's telling me that I'm over 95% of my CPU utilization and that I'm risking potentially crashing the stream. So I guess what that tells me is that streaming Zwift, warning now, again, I think it's still running the stream, so, the advantage that I have is that I can see all this stuff. But I was thinking that if I wasn't streaming, or if I wasn't running the Zwift app on this computer and streaming, that it would take a whole lot of the processing away. But apparently, I was wrong. So the good news is that this view, this setup, I guess, in general, it gives me the ability to hell, I don't know what I'm saying. I just need that new computer to come in, and it's not coming in for at least 2 or 3 weeks. So I've got to manage through the process no matter what, and just deal with it. So in other words, buck up, Dave. All right, let's go to view number, this is camera number 2. So again, I'm not sure that I love this camera angle. I like the fact that it was different. When I'm down in the drops, it's pretty cool because I think you can see my face pretty well. It's not blocked by this tablet or by that tablet. The lighting effect is pretty good. You can see fat belly because again, I am the American mammal, middle-aged man in Lycra. So when you take middle-aged and you take Lycra and you put them together, it's not really a pretty situation, is it? Because we got this sticking out. You know, we got our flabby, aging, just skin and demeanor. So I get it. But see that, and specifically when I'm doing things like when the rocker plate is activated, like when I'm actually on Zwift and I'm going down some hills, I've actually noticed that I'll be in my drops and I'll literally, like as I'm turning, I'll actually physically lean into the turns pretty aggressively. I never realized before I got the rocker plate last year, I never realized that I did that, and I don't know, maybe I didn't, but I probably did. But I noticed it because as the bike tips, if you're not aware of it, you kind of feel like, oh crap, I'm tipping over. It would be really cool if Wahoo or Zwift or just some third party would figure out, I don't know, it's not an accelerometer, an inclinometer, is that a word? Some kind of a device that would be able to measure how much I'm leaning, which, you know, we all know just a simple bubble level does that, but electronically figure that out and then affect the steering based on that. I guess the downside is when I'm pedaling like this, I'm not really, well, I guess in the real world, the bike kind of would be going back and forth. Like if I'm like doing a sprint, yeah, no, I think I'm kind of in a straight line. I'm not really swerving as I'm going through a sprint. So, back to scene 1. Hi. So again, these camera angles aren't permanent. as well as everything else about this production. I'm in the process of trying to figure out what works the best. So if you have an opinion about it, let me know, because I'll try whatever suggestions you make. And guess what I didn't do today? Even though 3 different times I said, oh, I gotta grab my towel. Yeah. Now I got an hour-and-a-half workout with no towel to wipe my face off. Well, like I said, it's not that much. I mean, I'm 10 minutes into this first interval here. It's only 130 watts. It's telling me 88 RPM. So today is definitely not an aggressive or a difficult workout. So the other thing I do need to figure out is that right now, through the software, I'm streaming to Vimeo and Twitch directly. And then I log into Vimeo and I stream from there to Facebook and YouTube. So what I don't know is if I stream directly from the app or from the software to all those sources, does it duplicate and send out 5 streams simultaneously? Or does it still send it, because Live Stream Studio is owned by Vimeo, so does it still send it to the Vimeo studios or their servers as a single stream and then broadcast it out from there? I don't know. I'm going to have to research that, because honestly, I think the interface, at least from my end, would be easier and better if I did it all in the software. But again, I don't know if the way I've got it set up in the software, if maybe that's part of the reason why I'm using now 98% of my CPU. So I'd love for the software, if any of you guys know how to use Live Stream Studio 6 software, if there's a way to automatically switch between camera angles, or to automatically switch between these graphics overlay screens, and have it like automatically, either over time or literally just even randomly, switch from one camera angle to the next, so that I don't have to reach over here and do it. Obviously during difficult workouts, I'm not going to be able to do that, let alone I'm not even going to think about it. So, I don't know. And apparently you only get 3 GFX modules. So you can't have more than 3. Which seems kind of limiting to me. I don't know why they would limit that. Why it would matter to them at all. So anyhow, I'm 23 minutes into this workout. 7 miles. I'm currently riding at 10 miles an hour at only 130 watts. I think my coach did this to me on purpose, because she knows that I don't like these long, slow, boring workouts. I know that aerobic workouts are important, and building my aerobic base is critical to my development. and to increasing my speed, which is something I've never done in the past, focused on this low-end power stuff. But it doesn't make it enjoyable. In my head, I still feel like, oh, why the hell am I riding? I mean, 130 watts. You can see that's gray at the in the middle of the screen there. I think that's like recovery pace. It's the top end of my recovery pace, but it's fucking recovery. I'm not going to complain. They know way more than I do. I guess I am going to complain, but I'm just helping you to understand kind of my thought process, what's going on in my head, especially during workouts like this, where I don't know. Like I said, it's I get that these kind of workouts are needed. I get that they're necessary. But it doesn't make it easier to do them. In my mind, I'd much rather just be crushing it and freaking working my ass off. Like even yesterday, the workout wasn't that hard. I don't know, it's the slow pedal hurt. The slow pedal didn't physically hurt. It was difficult. It was a lot of strain for me to handle. But that being said, it wasn't like I had to quit the workout. I was struggling through it, and I made it through and rode a few miles after the workout. But I much prefer workouts like that to the alternative to workouts where, well, like this. Because at least it feels like, oh yeah, you're working hard. I mean, I was huffing and puffing. Go back and watch the video from yesterday. Look back at like, I don't know, 45 minutes or so into the workout. I was huffing and puffing. I was struggling. I wasn't talking a whole lot in the video for that section because I was really struggling just to keep going. And it was an extremely low cadence. And it wasn't high power. It was 180 watts or 185, I don't remember. So it wasn't like I was like, they were killing me. It literally should have been, you know, at 70 RPM or 65 RPM. It should have been a walk in the park, but it wasn't. So, anyhow, today's workout is called Progressive Aerobic Endurance. And it's only progressing from 130 watts to 140 watts. So, it's not a lot of effort. It's not a lot of strain. It's not difficult. But I know I have to do it. So that's where things like the graphics, the group, being able to give ride-ons to people as I'm going and getting them from them. While it's fucking stupid, it's corny. I apologize for the F-bomb there. It's corny. I don't know, whatever. But it's very gimmicky. But especially when you're like in the middle of a really aggressive effort, and all of a sudden you get that notification on the screen, you know, with the thumbs up, and I never have the audio turned on, but if all of a sudden you see it saying, you know, Jim Bob said right on, you're kind of like, oh man, that feels good. A little bit of motivation to keep you going. And I'm sure that the designers totally got that when they created the game. Because obviously they're using every emotional and mental trick in the book to get people to want to ride on Zwift. Because, you know, they're getting their, I don't know, whatever it is, 14 bucks a month for each person. And if you're not riding, you're not paying. And if you're not paying, they're not growing, even though they're not a profitable company. And I don't know if they necessarily ever really will be. So, you see I changed the view a little bit here. I usually roll in FPV, in first person view. So you see kind of what, or the screen is kind of what I would be used to seeing while I'm riding. But I changed that. Now I've kind of got this side view as if there's like a moto riding alongside of me. Obviously, it's an avatar. It's not me. But you can see over the corner of the screen, that's me. You'll notice our kits kind of match, right? Actually, the ones on the screen look a little bit better than the ones in real life. I don't know. What do you think? The avatar kit look better, or this live one? Whew, I am getting a little bit warm. I think I'm gonna log into this tablet. I'm gonna open up the, if I can find it somewhere. Come on, you moron. The Wahoo app. Got a lot of screens on this thing. All right, so sensors. They actually updated their app. It's different. No, that's not sensors, that's steps. Oh, this is, here we go. Sensors. Wahoo kicker bike, headwind rear and headwind front. I'm going to turn the rear one, which is the one that's at the correct 4 feet distance from the front of the bike. But I'm adjusting it from speed, maybe not, to manual. There we go. Whew. So that I get more wind. I'm not really riding 5 miles an hour right now. And then I'll go ahead and change the view again. Alright, there's me. I'm riding at you. The moto's in front of me. I'm trying to catch up to him as close as I can so I can draft. We've all been there, right? The steering does not seem to be as responsive or functional in this view. Like I'm literally trying to steer all the way over. It's not going. That's an interesting thing. Okay, now here's the one that I like the most. This is what I normally use, which is my first person view. Obviously is what I'd be looking at if I were actually on the road. You got a little bit better peripheral vision in the real world, but you know how many times are you riding, especially if you're climbing a long 8% grade like this, and all all of a sudden you don't hear shit because all you hear is your breathing, the voices in your head telling you you're never going to make it. Your effort to overcome that and say, Dave, you can do this. It's only 8%. You've climbed 20% climbs. You can do this. And then you hear your heart beating, you hear your freaking breathing, and then somebody just comes freaking whizzing by and you're like, holy crap. I literally had no spatial awareness whatsoever. Had no idea they were coming. Normally, if you're not overexerting, you know, you can hear the people coming, you can almost feel them, right? But when your body is in that overload zone, all right, here I go. I'm now moving up to an aggressive 135 watts. So it still looks like we're streaming, so that's a good thing. I'm still on this front screen, so let's go back to the rear screen. You like that transition? I made that myself. Yeah, the angle probably needs to be adjusted on that a little bit, but I don't love this angle. I was thinking it was going to be a little cooler than it is. I'm guessing, because I'm assuming that we're using that microphone as well right now. But that's really, really loud. I don't even know if you can hear my voice or not. But it's nice to actually, for me at least, it's nice to have that angle to be able to see what it is that I'm doing. What my form looks like. You know, are my knees way out or in? Are they moving all around? You can see that I've got these soft 5-finger toe shoes on. I'm still recovering from that surgery. And so I know that I move those around in the pedals a lot. But I'm not ready for solid shoes yet. So this is what I got. Alright. I didn't want to make it so the camera was higher and you were just looking at my butt all day. Although, you know, if you're riding in a pack, especially if you're down in the drops because you're going hard, which today we're not, that's pretty much what you got in your face. Somebody's ass right there, right? So, yeah. But, I didn't put the camera there. I do want to put one up here so that, like, up over my head over here, kind of looking down, maybe back here, but so that you can maybe see a little bit of me, but you'll be able to see the companion app that I'm using, and I don't know. I'm going to try a few different things. I'm not sure how I can rig a camera up off the ceiling. I mean, there's always a way, right? I'm just going to figure it out. Hey, I've only got 21 minutes of this 25 minutes interval left. And there they all go. Only last for a couple seconds. None of them gave me one back in the race. Did all that work of pushing my screen, tapping my screen. And they didn't tap back. Alright, let's see if any of these guys are cool. The answer would be a big fat N-O. At all. Hey Google. Okay Google. Hey Google. Okay Google. He's not listening. I guess I don't get to change the channel. Today, if it's not as sunny out, now when I'm back here, it's not too bright. When I come up here, I notice there's some hot spots on my face. Maybe it's just because I've never been able to watch the video live before because of how I had it set up. I don't know. There we go, somebody from Basecamp who isn't even riding in this world. Open up their companion app, or maybe they just finished their workout and they gave a ride on to everyone they follow. Alright, well, you know what? I'm going to change this because even sometimes when I'm riding, although generally the sunglasses I wear when I'm on the bike, they have readers in them. So that way I can see where without any glasses on I can't, because I'm a middle-aged man. So I just put on a Van Halen shuffled playlist. And the first song that pops up is When It's Love, or If It's Love, or something. Never really realized how many shitty songs Van Halen produced. I don't want to rewind, I want to fast forward. Alright, pan them out a little bit better. Aha! Jump back. What's that sound? Here she comes, the full blasting sound. Yeah, hot shoe going in down the avenue. Shadow over here because the light here, and this one coming up doesn't really get me enough. Just little things I'm noticing for the first time. Shiny machine, got the feel for the world, keep the movie pods playing. This is the first water I've had today, isn't it? By the way, totally not a sponsor or not endorsing them whatsoever, but thefeed.com is where I get a lot of my the crap that I eat while I'm on the bike, the gels and the protein bars and all that. And they send you a free bottle pretty much every time you order, because I don't know what the minimum order is, but you always order more than that. So they send you a free bottle every time. Well, they're in, or just outside of Boulder. They used to be in Boulder, Colorado, and now they're in either Superior or Louisville, Colorado, which, as you know, last weekend had that devastating fire that burned down some 900 homes. So the only reason I'm bringing up the feed, and the reason that I buy stuff from there, and that they send me free bottles, is almost instantly they they started sending out their New Year's special, 22% off anything you order, which is awesome. But then the fires happened, and they transitioned and said, hey, we'll still give you 22% off, but for every bottle that you buy, we're going to create a fund using 100% of the money from the bottle sales. I think I don't know what they're charging for the bottles, $8 or $10 something. So basically, every dollar that you give them by buying bottles, whether it's 1 or 100 bottles or 1,000 bottles, they're putting it into a fund. And of those 900 homes, anybody who requests assistance from the feed, they're going to take that total, whether it's 100 grand or $1 million, they're going to divide it by the total number of people that ask, whether it's 1 or it's 900 or more, and they're going to give that money to the people directly. They're not taking a cut. They paid for the bottles, so they're putting their own skin in the game, if you will. In addition to that, as the day after the fire started, when things really started to erupt, that was what? That was New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. The day after that, they announced that, hey, we're putting together packages, boxes full of So, regardless of what you think about the feed as a company or the people who run it, or some of their practices in terms of the shell companies that they create and the products that they sell under the different brand names, whether you like that or you hate it, I don't really care. They're stepping up the game. They're helping people in their own backyard. Some of them are athletes themselves. Probably a lot of them, out there, seems like everybody's a triathlete or a cyclist or whatever, but they're putting their own money into it, and they're giving you, me, the opportunity to go in, buy a couple water bottles. We get the water bottles, by the way, and that money is going to support people that need it. By the way, just from a business perspective, they're not doing this for a tax write-off or for any benefit, because they're not sending the stuff to a nonprofit. They're not donating it per se through a tax deductible charitable organization. They just opened their freaking doors, put some boxes together and said, please take. And they're doing the same thing with the cash. Hey, we bought all these bottles, and yeah, we've got them in our inventory, but we laid out the cash for them. We're going to sell them to our customers, but we're going to take all that cash, instead of putting it in our pockets, and we're going to give it to local people. So they're not even doing it in a way that they can benefit financially from it. It is literally a pure expense to them. These local families who need cash as they're trying to deal with, well, this hell that has arisen in the new year for them by losing everything. And they want to make sure that the people get it, that it doesn't go to administrators, it doesn't go to the operations of some, big conglomerate, quote unquote, not for profit. They want to make sure that the people actually get it. So they just said, we're just going to give it to them. So, like I said, I buy almost all of my gels and my bars and my supplements. I personally really like what's it called, Swiss RX supplements. I don't take a lot of them, but I have tried a lot of them. I take their immunoglobulin. I don't know what it's called, gut defense or gut support or gut something. They've got two different ones. One's an immunoglobulin, and one is I don't know, it's something else. The other one my body did not agree with at all. My gut did not like it. But the immunoglobulin one, a lot of times, especially when you're doing long events, your body's pretty remarkable, right? It takes the blood flow and it restricts it to areas of the body that don't need it right now to maximize the blood flow to where you need it. In our case, as endurance athletes or as cyclists, it's going to be to our legs, to our glutes, to our heart, to our lungs, and to our brain. Right? Not necessarily in that order, but pretty much in that order. And so where's it going to pull from? It pulls blood away from our stomach, from our gut, the intestines, and from other muscles that are less used, like our arms as an example. So it constricts or it restricts blood flow to those areas. It doesn't cut it off, it just reduces the flow to those areas. So when it reduces the flow to our gut, it means that we're not spending the energy or wasting the blood flow, the oxygen, to those areas, to our stomach, to our intestines. The downside is that because we need to continue to take nutrients in and calories in, our stomach isn't efficient at breaking it down, at producing the acids, at turning the acid flow up and down as it's needed. And our intestines aren't as good as actually processing that food while we're working out. And the end result is, if you've ever wondered or if you've ever noticed that, wow, on some of these longer, more intense rides, get all kinds of issues, whether it's diarrhea or just dirty, gross poop for a few days, or it's constipation followed by diarrhea, or the other way around. If you've got gastric distress and you've ever noticed that after these difficult rides or these longer efforts, I have found that the Swiss RX immunoglobulin, and again, I don't remember what it's called, gut defense or gut health, one of those two. It's pretty remarkable. They tell you to take it for a couple weeks before you use it at an event to see what it does to your body. Because an immunoglobulin is a naturally occurring substance in our bodies. It's also, I guess it's like the precursor to breast milk from mothers, from whatever animal. And so they apparently harvest it from cows before they get the milk. They get this separate substance, and the farmers, the ranchers, set it aside and sell it as a different product. So anyhow, I found that I take one of those a day if I'm in a really big event, or if I am starting to notice more gastric upset for whatever reason, whether it's my diet or stress or big workouts or whatever. I might increase it to 2 a day, or 2 once in a while. But overall, it makes your poop really hard. Literally, it comes out like a freaking brick, and really big. Like it makes, yeah. If you ever start taking it, you'll see what I mean. But you'll make some really, really big poops. Like I stopped up the toilet before, not with toilet paper, but just with the size. It just, yeah. It's so hard that it doesn't break apart in the toilet, and it's so big that it just blocks the drain. So that's why they say use it with caution, because you don't want to be literally full of shit while you're in a big long race or an event somewhere. But I have found that really, literally as a daily course, I tend to take one of those every morning, and the occurrence of gastric distress has gone down dramatically. I have something called I don't know. I got these pockets in my colon, and sometimes, especially by the way, when I eat a lot of high glucose products, like gels that we eat on the bike, stuff gets trapped inside of there, and they get inflamed. It causes a lot of pain and a lot of, diarrhea and just discomfort and a lot of problems. And so I found that taking this gut health, I think it's called, but the immunoglobulin pills from Swiss RX have had a really positive effect just on my daily life. Doesn't mean it's completely stopped. Like I said, there are days where if I know I've got an event coming up, or I know my training block is getting more intense, or I just start to notice signs of issues, I'll increase it to 2. But I have noticed a very definite effect from that. It's not cheap, but it's worth it in my opinion. The other thing I take from them is the Swiss RX, the Aerobic again, they have two different probiotics. There's one that's like, I don't know, 100 trillion bacteria cells, and then there's like the normal one. And I just used the normal one. I can't tell you how many it has. But again, there, I take one of those every night. And I've had some medical procedures and some issues as I've described. And I've been on some pretty intense antibiotics through those. And, you know, those kill the biome in your gut. They kill all the bad bacteria, but at the same time they kill all the healthy bacteria that helps you live. It helps in the processing of the nutrients that you need. And so taking the probiotics helps to rebuild that, but obviously you just crap a lot of it out right away. So only a small percentage remains and starts building up gradually over time. I figured, oh, I'll do it for a month, you know, maybe two, and then I'll be good. And then my coach, who's a pro cyclist and an Olympic athlete, and she was like, you know, you're probably going to need to take that for at least a year. She said, whatever you're taking, she said, make sure it's a good probiotic, but you're going to need to take it for an extended period of time to adequately build that up, because those periods of gastric distress that we experience as endurance athletes, essentially we flush all the bacteria out anyhow, or at times, especially with me with that diverticulitis or diverticulosis, whatever one it is. When the infection builds, that's bad bacteria that grows inside of those little pockets, feed off of all the carbs, the sugars that I put in there, and therefore make it they upset the balance of the bacteria in your gut, and it never really gives your body an opportunity, your gut the opportunity to build that biome in your gut back to a healthy level. So she's like, yeah, just keep taking it, and plan on taking it long term, because it's going to take you a long time to rebuild it. So I take one, and again, sometimes two of those every night. And my thought on the timing is, if I take a probiotic at night, it has all night to sit in my stomach and get into my gut, and to let the bacteria grow and take hold and whatever, without being disrupted by eating other foods or whatever. So I don't know if that logic holds true or not, but that's kind of when I take it and why. Swiss RX, I also like their, I don't know what they're called again, their recovery shakes. If I would have realized I was going to be talking about them, I could have had little samples for you, but the bottles to show you. But their recovery shakes, again, I don't remember what it's really called, but something recovery shake. It's a protein shake. It's only 19 grams of protein. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's actually pea protein and not that milk byproduct whey. I don't know if that's good or bad. I know that whey protein your body absorbs absorbs more of it, it has better effect. And there's certainly protein drinks, whey and non, that have more than 14 grams of protein, or 19 grams of protein in it. But the Swiss RX one, they blend it with some amino acids and I don't know, some other crap that's supposed to make it so that your body does absorb it better and that it does synthesize to literally aid in your recovery after intense workouts. Again, I don't drink that every day. I don't drink it after every workout. Although now that I'm talking about it, some people say they don't like the texture. I actually really like the texture. I like the flavor. So now that I'm talking about it, I've only got 25 minutes left in this workout, 24. I think I'm going to have one of those after this. I mix that with some of the Swiss RX collagen. So I put 2 scoops of the protein mix, 1 scoop of the collagen into my blender bottle, and I shake it up. And, it tastes really good. I think I get a positive benefit from it. I'm not sure if I do or not. But the Basecamp nutritionist has said that I'm doing a fairly decent job at managing my macro nutrients, my protein levels, my percentages, protein, fat, and carbs, right? So that's about as deep as into nutrition as I can get because, well, even with just managing these 3, it's pretty much over my head. When she starts talking about different sources of proteins and the values and the way your body absorbs them and all that, it's like I kind of get there are some that are better than others, but I can't really tell you anything beyond that. So, so other than that, I take the collagen because I want to be pretty. Because, you know, every 52-year-old male who likes to wear Lycra needs to be pretty. It needs you to know that they're pretty, right? Now, Namorita has said that collagen is supposed to, there's nothing definite, like no studies that have definitively proven it yet, but that it's supposed to help your soft tissue. And so as you're getting older and you want to keep your knees, as a cyclist, our knees and our ankles protected, the collagen is said to, or supposed to, or might help with that. So I take that, again, not necessarily every day. I kind of mix it in with my shake. So on the days when I have a shake, I have some collagen. I don't really think about it other than that. So anyhow, I got to talking about Swiss RX because I was talking about the feed and this program that they're doing to help locals who lost everything in those fires. Other than Swiss RX, I dabble with different nutritional, with different things to eat on the bike. I think I've talked before about the Martin gels and the Martin mix that I have been playing with to see what effect it has on my body. I'm not sure that my gut likes it, but it has done a really good job at getting my glucose levels up during a workout. picky bars because they're protein bars with a little bit of carb. They're easy to put in your jersey pocket. They're easy to open up and to consume while you're riding, even during a hard effort. So I like those, and I get those from the feed. And then I also use the Aerobic, I think it's called, gels. I like their pre-game gel, which kind of has like an orangey or a tangerine flavor. And it's a really thick gel that you literally just squeeze like the whole thing. It comes out in one piece. I think you could probably hold it in your hand, but it would be sticky. And I put that in my mouth. As you know, maybe a half hour before, but a lot of times it's right before I start my workout. And that's loaded with carbs, with both glucose, with fructose and whatever the other one's called, fructose and sucrose. And so your body can absorb and utilize a lot of that. And I've noticed that when I take that, my glucose monitor levels go up pretty quickly, but not like aggressively. It's not like a spike. And then my body's able to sustain it for a while, so you don't get that quick insulin response to reduce it right away. And then their gels, their isotonic gels, are just okay. I like them because the form factor is nice. You can fit a lot of them in your jersey pocket when you're doing a century ride. But they make these ones that are in an awkward packet with a little valve at the top that you can open up, and it's like a juice box. And it literally tastes like, do you remember those, when we were kids, those little jugs, I think they were called a little jug, of sugar water that we used to get as a treat during the summer? Mom would buy them at the grocery store, and they had the tin foil cap on them, and you peel it off, and it literally just tasted like plastic as you were drinking it, but it was like pure sugar. When I drink these Aerobic, I don't have one on my table, or I'd show it to you, but when I drink those, that's always what comes to mind, because it has that same flavor. But I know that they work with pro athletes and the top cycling teams, specifically when it's an Italian company, when they're developing their formulations. And you know, it's all based in the science, you know, which these days of COVID, it's really important to trust the science. So it sorry. I tend to be able to tolerate those really well, those Aerobic gels. I think, I don't have any proof yet, but I think better than the Martin ones. But like I said, I'm not sure. I think my gut reacts poorly to the Martin, but it responds better to the Aerobic for whatever reason, just whatever they're using in their formulations. And every gut is different. So what works for one person, or what works for a million people, may not work for me, or may not work for you. So it's important to, during training sessions and in the off season, is when you try different sources of fuel while you're riding, different carbs, different proteins, different fat sources, so that you know how it affects you on short, hard efforts, but also how it affects you on big, long endurance efforts as well. So when you get to an event, you're not faced with, negative results of whatever you're putting in your body. I know a lot of people, they go to events and they don't bring their own gels or their own food. And their opinion is, I just paid all this money to participate in the events. One of the things that money is for the nutrition, the quote unquote nutrition that they give you at the water stops. Which I get that argument, but the problem is I've looked at a lot of these snack tables on these rides, especially there's a multi-day ride I do for the American Cancer Society called the Pan Ohio Hope Ride, which I've talked about it a little bit before, and I'll certainly talk about it more because it's a nice cause and it's a great ride. But at their water stops, it's a 400 or 328 mile ride across the state of Ohio. At their water stops, the nutrition that they have, now this is a ride for cancer, put on by the American Cancer Society or Association, whatever it's called. And the money goes directly to help people who are currently fighting cancer, by the way. But they decided they don't really need to talk to a nutritionist. They actually have people who are fighting cancer who do the ride every year. So they've got a high level of support for those people and everything else. But the food that they have at their rest stops, M&Ms, M&M peanuts, gummy bears, bags of highly processed pretzels, which I get. You need carbs, you need salt, and those things are good for us while we ride. But there are formulations of stuff that are manufactured that are designed specifically to be more healthy, not and the processed crap in them. And that's typical for a lot of rides. Some rides will be sponsored by, one of the manufacturers, Cliff Bars or whomever, and they'll have that there, or they'll have some sport drink options there. But again, your gut responds differently to a Gatorade than it does to, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but you name any of the other companies that make a sports drink, right? Your gut responds differently. So if your gut is trained to drink a specific type of liquid supplement, whether it's Gatorade or it's any of the others that are out there, and all of a sudden you're taking a different one on a ride, that's going to upset your gut at least a little bit. And the same with your event nutrition. If my gut's used to eating a combination of the Aerobic, Picky Bars, and Martin during the course of a 4 to 10 hour endurance ride, and I keep giving it that, and supplement, by the way, with some real food stuff, I have a much better chance at surviving the event without having an incident. And if you've ever had an incident on a long bike ride, you don't want to have an incident while you're riding. The Kaibos, if you've ever been to RAGBRAI, or the porta potties everywhere else in the world, are not somewhere that you want to be stripping your kit off, throwing it on the floor of those things to sit for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes to clear out your colon.
everything that you can do to prevent that is a benefit. The other good reason to practice your nutrition during the off season is that you'll have to figure out not just what your body prefers, what your gut likes to process, but as you're taking the blood away from your gut, you got to figure out how to get fuel into your body in a timing that doesn't require your body to say, oh crap, I got to start digesting. Let me take blood flow away from the legs, or away from the lungs, or away from the heart, or honestly, away from the brain to get to the stomach so that we can digest, to get to the intestines so that we can digest. So you want to figure out, obviously they've done studies and they have general ideas of how many calories and how many carbs and how much protein and how much fat you can ingest in an hour without triggering that response, without having to divert muscle from your legs or your other systems that you're working to your stomach. An example of that is, you ever had a really big meal at lunch when you're at work? And it's a freaking delicious meal. And you eat it all up and you're like, oh my God, that was fabulous. And you go back to work, and an hour later, you're taking a nap under your desk. Well, that happens on these rides too. If you load up on food, at one time, your body has to work, has to use blood and energy to digest. And that's both blood and energy, oxygen and blood and energy, that you're now not able to use to propel you forward faster on your bike. So, if you practice, how do I eat my, if you got a combination carb, fructose and sucrose, how do I process or how do I ingest my 90 grams over the course of an hour instead of let me just inhale it once and then wait an hour? Or how do I ingest my 60 grams of carbs, 62 grams of carbs every half hour to 40 minutes? And so if you can figure out a way to do that, to kind of meter it throughout the ride, because the goal is really to keep your glucose levels, your glycogen stores, which are replenished with glucose, with carbs. If you can keep that at a fairly constant level throughout a long ride, obviously it's going to fluctuate some, but if you can keep it from dipping too low, you can sustain your energy, you can sustain your power, and just your generalized well-being, how you feel at the end of the ride, is way, way better. So those are things that you can practice in the off-season, that when you screw it up, because you will, that it doesn't have a huge cost because it's the off-season. If you bonk on a ride because you're not taking enough, and you're on your trainer, you're already at home. If you overeat and your body has to divert energy to digest it, and you just have to slow away the hell down, you're on a trainer. So again, the cost is really low, right? If you're at an event, or even if you're just outside training and you're trying that, the cost is way higher, because you gotta get home. And let me tell you, I personally, I'm sure we all have been at an event where you gotta strip down in the cargo because of the crappy food that I ate. I've been at events where I've completely bonked riding at 13, 14 miles an hour, literally just dragging yourself into the end, right? I've been at events where I haven't fueled properly throughout the ride, and so at one point, you know, usually it's a century ride, 70, maybe 74 miles into it, you get so fucking hungry that you just got to indulge. And there happens to be, you know, a gas station selling a slice of pizza. And you're just like, oh my god, that sounds so good. And you make the mistake of buying it. And then you eat it. All that grease. I literally did this in St. Augustine, Florida a couple months ago. Came across the causeway on A1A, heading back up to Jacksonville. And just after you turn the corner, like, I don't know, 100 yards or 200 yards up the road, there's like a Circle K or some gas station right there. And I was low on water. I had enough gels and everything, I just hadn't eaten enough, but I really just needed water. And I go in there, and the friggin' smell of the pepperoni pizza was just like, oh my gosh. It was a really hot day. It was in the fall, and it had actually gotten cold up north. I was riding in Pennsylvania before that. And so I was acclimating, or pretty well acclimated to the cooler temperatures. And I go down to Jacksonville, and it was ungodly hot for me. It wasn't ungodly. It wasn't even maybe 90. It was close to 90, but not quite. And I'm just sweating like a pig. I literally cannot fill my bottles fast enough, and they're already gone. So anyhow, I stop at this gas station. I buy a big bottle of water to refill my bottles. I buy a Gatorade because I am dehydrated and I know it. And I smell this pizza. And, you know, wrong timing, right? Exactly. I'm hungry. I'm nutrited. I'm underhydrated. And I smell this freaking greasy, sugary, salty pizza. And I'm like, I gotta have one. So I bought the big bottle, bottle of water, the gallon or whatever it was of water. I bought a slice of pizza. I bought a bottle of Gatorade or Powerade, whatever. And I bought a bag of M&Ms. So literally, when I smelled that pizza, like, my whole semblance of control at that point was gone. My animal instincts of, I just need nutrition. I just need, and really it wasn't even the nutrition. I had been eating okay, but not perfectly. It was the fact that I needed hydration and probably some salt. And I smelled that greasy pizza that was freshly baked. And I was just like, I gotta have gas station pizza, right? It's yummy, it's nutritional. So I I'm standing outside next to my bike. I fill up my bottles. I drink the Gatorade. I drink some more water. Then I open that box of pizza and I freaking scarfed it down. Probably like, New York style. I fold it and I just down for like 3 or 4 bites. And the big ass pizza was gone. And then I'm like, that probably wasn't a good idea, but I don't care. And then I open up the bag of M&Ms, just regular 90 degrees, so I can't touch them, right? Because they don't not melt in your mouth, they in your hands, right? So I take the bag, still probably have pizza in my mouth, and so my body is saying, oh fuck, I gotta digest. I don't know how many calories that was, but an instant. loaded with carbs. The drink, the sugar, all the sugar that's in the pizza. I got tons of fat, tons of grease, all the cheese, all the, all that stuff. And yeah, it was all at once. And so I had to ride up A1A, which is, almost completely flat. But it's like a 60 mile an hour road. So people drive, it's a one lane in each direction. People, are driving 80. And it is it's windy. And the wind comes from the northeast. So when you're riding north on A1A, there are some buildings through that section, but for the most part, you're just open to the ocean. And when the thermal breeze is blowing, it's actually like I feel right now, 54 RPM, 150 watts. I'm riding 5 miles an hour, and you're just like, oh man, you're just literally slugging along. So I decided I'm going to go up to 25 miles. It's only 2/10, right? But then I look, and it's 2/10 in the middle of this climb. So, the moral of the story is, I did not finish that ride well. I got up to Mickler Park in Jacksonville, refilled my water bottles again, freaking stood under the beach shower, cooled myself off, and then I just casually rode back to the finish from there. It was just a training ride before an event. But man, that was a tough day. And a lot of it it all had to do with improper hydration, improper nutrition, and not understanding how to reacclimate to the heat, which I spent most of my life in, but all of a sudden it was foreign to my body, and it took its toll. And so everything kind of built on top of each other, and ended up having a really tough, stressful, long day. But a good week riding in Jacksonville, and a really fun event at the PGA Tour Cycle to the Shore, it's called. It's a ride from Jacksonville down to Daytona, 100 miles the first day, and I think it's 70 miles back the second day. Almost completely flat. Like if there's 200 feet of climbing the whole each day, that'd be a lot. And just a great group of people, a good aggressive group to ride with, and everything from there down to people who can only ride 25 miles a day. So it's a lot of fun. Alright, so today's workout is officially over. I'm actually just slugging at 28, 33 RPM because I don't really want to stop, but I know I need to stop. I was talking about that Swiss RX, that chocolate recovery shake, and man, I tell you what, my taste buds are really looking forward to that, so I'm going to go mix one of those up and drink it. Tomorrow is Thursday. I am not doing the 10 a.m. workout because I have a meeting I have to be at 8 a.m. and will not be done before 10. So instead, I'm going to do tomorrow's evening workout at 5:45 p.m. So if you're a fan of the vlog and you want to join me for the ride, log into Zwift tomorrow at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Find the Basecamp group ride and join in. And look me up and send me a message on the Zwift companion app. And we If not, come back, watch the video, watch my workout. I guarantee you it's going to be way more effort than today, and I'm probably going to be a little bit fatigued from these last couple of days of workouts, and so it's sure to be a pain fest. So come and watch me suffer and laugh at Dave, the American Mammal, the middle-aged man in Lycra. Thanks a lot, and we will see